Gambia's Truth Commission continues its public hearing on the human rights atrocities allegedly committed by members of the National Intelligence Agency. Uganda to boost its energy sector supply as stakeholders launch National Energy Association. And the Sanyang UK Association has donated 200 sets of computers to nursery and basic cycle school in Sanyang village. Well, these and more coming your way on The World Today. Hello there, this is Africa TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin. I am Amadou Kante. Many thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. Now we begin with matters of the TRRC because following with testimonies from several witnesses including perpetrators and victims of the National Intelligence Agency, the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission has on Monday begun its 18th session of the public hearings. Still on its institutional hearings, the Commission will hear more testimonies on NIA brutality, including issues of enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings. Fatmata Kasim has more details of that in this report.
During the 17th session, the Truth Commission have heard testimonies from 300 witnesses. 231 of these witnesses were male and 69 were female. At the opening of the 18th session on Monday, the chairman of the commission, Lamin J. Cisse, said the commission is established for reconciliation as well as to seek truth and not to bring conflict among Gambians.
The TRRC was not established in a post-armed conflict environment in the Gambia. The establishment of such post-conflict commissions have traditionally been the culmination of peace negotiations which called for creation of truth-seeking and reconciliation mechanisms. While such mechanism is indeed a central objective of the TRRC, as enshrined in the 2017 Act, it was created in a post-authoritarian transition.
The testimonies of witnesses who appeared before the commission confirmed that the former President Yahya Jammeh was using the National Intelligence Agency and a death squad as the jungler to carry out massive brutality and extrajudicial killings of the ordinary citizens and political opponents. The chairman said this has helped the former President Jammeh to drive for over decades.
The institutions of the state enabled the dictatorship to thrive for over 2 decades. It is imperative, therefore, that the TRRC examine thoroughly the weaknesses and failures of the relevant state institutions, especially the NIA, that facilitated or enabled the Jammeh regime to violate on a massive scale the human rights of the citizens of the Gambia. The NIA, from the testimonies of victims that have either appeared before the commission or submitted written statements, was the primary instrument of fear and terror on the dictatorship of the dictatorship.
Cisse said the commission will find it immensely helpful to receive more information on the remaining themes in its work plan. Some of the remaining topics to be covered by the commission includes enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings alleged committed by the National Intelligence Agency and the junglers Jammeh's death squad.
The commission will find it immensely helpful to receive more information on the remaining themes in its work plan, including the enforced disappearances of people like Chief Ibrahim Mane, Sol Ndao, and Maawa Cham, among others. Also, information regarding the massacre of an estimated 56 West African migrants in 2005. We therefore continue to urge all persons, especially victims of any human rights violations that occurred between July 1994 and January 2017, to please come forward and share their information or experiences with the Commission. Please rest assured that your confidentiality will be strictly guarded by the Commission.
So far, the Commission has heard testimonies from 300 witnesses, and of these, 231 were male and 69 were female. Out of the total number of witnesses who appeared before the Commission since January last year, 191 are victims and 51 are self-confessed perpetrators and adversely mentioned persons. 28 witnesses from the Gambian diaspora have testified via video link. These hearings also included several protected witnesses and closed-door testimonies. For iAfrica TV, I am Fatoumata Kasim.
Gambia's Truth Commission there resuming its public hearing after a week break as witnesses continue to appear before the Commission. And from that, we move on because a Sanyang UK association has donated 200 sets of computers to Kobisali Nursery and Basic Cycle schools at Sanyang village in the West Coast region. The donation came as a gesture of goodwill to benefit 37 schools in the cluster of Banyaka and Gunjur in the Kombo South district. The CISA reports.
Mr. Buba Bojang, the local coordinator of Sanya UK Association, who is also the proprietor and principal of Kobisali Nursery and Basic Cycle School, commended the Sanya UK Association for the humanitarian gesture. He said that the Sanya UK Association has embarked on many humanitarian gestures over the years.
National efforts to promote the learning of information technology in schools in the face of global transformation. This gesture is spearheaded by a philanthropic body called Sanya UK Association. I commend them for the foresight. The humanitarian body has embarked on similar gestures, recommend among which are, that is, the activities that we have been embarking on. This association have been embarking on several activities in the previous years. Among them, we have Ramadan sugar distribution. Year in, year out, they will send in a package, then we'll buy sugar and then distribute it in different mosques in Sanyang and in other parts of the village. And then number 2 is donation of medical equipment to the Sanyang Health Center, was also part of the work that we were doing. Number 3, you have the construction of the kitchen at Sanyang Lower Basic School to facilitate them to have a better hygiene kitchen.
The chairperson of the Sanya UK Association, Sergio Fofana, reiterated the relevance of the donation, noting that the computers will help students in their academic works.
The Executive Committee discussed and the members to make sure that we invite the Director of Education Western Division and the head teachers of various schools from the Kombo South so they can come and attend this representation and to make sure that we give them what they need because the schools need these computers. And when it's there, it will help the kids to make sure that they do all their homeworks and they can get used to the computers, and then that will help them in the future.
Lamin Mani, who represented the Regional Education Director, said the donation will go a way in enhancing the IT skills of both students and teachers.
The contribution of these philanthropists in a form of desktop will go a long way in developing ICT skills acquisition by both students and teachers.
The event ended with the presentation of desktop computers to various schools within the Bainyaga and Gunjur clusters in the Kombo South district. For iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Well, Sanya UK Association, they are providing computers to schools in the Kombo South. Now to Nigeria next, where stakeholders, Uganda rather, of course, where stakeholders in the Ugandan energy sector have launched the country's energy association, which is expected to complement the government's efforts in providing access to power supply. The Energy Generators and Distributors Association hopes to work in unison to improve efficiency in their service delivery, thereby uplifting the country's power supply industry. Here are more details of that in this report.
The Energy Generators and Distributors Association of Uganda has been unveiled. The association currently has 13 founder partner members and is expected to bring together the more than 40 energy players in the electricity sector.
Another problem is low electricity access, 24% on the grid and 27% off grid. Now this is very low and we really need to step up, and I hope this association supports us to see that we increase this. We are actually on the campaign trail by His Excellency, but I think by good luck we've not had many queries from our sector. At least I have not been someone to answer.
It seeks to promote best practices and develop sector-relevant technical skills by supporting initiatives of the regulator and develop industry best practices with a view of developing a culture of compliance and clear practice guidelines.
That is where I see the association, the power of one voice, the power of sharing best practices, or saying how do you drive efficiency within the energy sector. Because once we are efficient, it culminates to see tariffs coming down. One of the things that we have identified, for example, was the issue around skills in the sector. There is a lot of movement of skills, we're utilizing the same skills, but how do we ensure that the sector is sustainable? The regulator has already started a skills development program, but we're coming to complement that of saying let's develop more skills for the sector. Let's ensure that we produce them in a sustainable way that can support the sector.
Our role is to complement and support government in delivery of service. We are not competing with government, and we mean good. As indicated by our chair, there are so many benefits we can get from this association. Technical skills, shared services, sharing best practices. We know issues of safety in the sector are very important, as you have ably said, and we are really glad that this association is taking shape, and we commit and affirm that we will deliver to our expectations by the Constitution.
The pillars of the association, which members have affirmed to enhance, are inclusive participation, professionalism, integrity, fair competition, transparency, and sustainability. Dennis Sigoa.
Report there in Kampala, Uganda. We come back home and next to Banjul, where the mayor of the city, Rohey Malick Lowe, recently represented the Gambia on Africa regional launch of Making Cities Resilience 2030. The aim of the initiative is to enhance the resilience of cities in Africa, as well connecting cities with one another. The CC has more details of that in this report.
The Making Cities Resilient in the African Region by 2030 initiative has been launched by the United Nations Disaster Risk Reduction. This campaign is intended to contribute to achieving the objectives and the 7 global targets of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 to 2030. Representing the Gambia is the mayor of Banjul, Rohey Malick Lowe, who explained the strategic plans taken by the Banjul City Council against natural disasters.
To avoid infrastructure disasters, Banjul City Council is actively working with the Disaster Management Agency on risk reduction programs such as the demolition of dilapidated buildings in the city. The process is also supported by the Department of Physical Planning and Housing as the government arm responsible in assessing buildings to avoid future disasters.
as disasters are on the increase globally, affecting the lives and livelihoods of vulnerable people in communities in which cities are at higher risk. The mayor of Banjul calls for action as well as to raise awareness on disaster risk reduction.
For action to my entire colleague mayors and governors in Africa to ensure our cities have resilience policies such as city DRR strategies and to invest more in socio-economic development as it is key pillar for progress of our cities.
The COVID-19 pandemic, a global health disaster of global presence, presents its own challenges for the city of Banjul. On top of the pandemic comes the rainy season, which has caused considerable damage in the city and across the country.
This year's rain, coupled with COVID-19, have caused numerous disasters, including death and serious injuries in the city and other parts of the country. The Banjul City Council, through consultation with stakeholders such as the Disaster Management Agency, the central government, and other civil society organizations, have designed a strategy for our people to cope the pandemic and the effect of climate hazards.
The United Nations projects urban areas to be the most vulnerable communities for disasters in the next 30 years, with 2/3 of the world's population expected to be living in urban settlements in 2050. The global body said that a strong policy framework and leadership is needed to make cities resilient to climate shocks. For iAfrica News, I am Daisy C.
There's more news coming ahead, but from that report there by Ndai Sise, we'll now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
For the first time in the Gambia, your favorite GSM operator, Africell, is the first and only GSM operator to launch a brand new technology called the eSIM. The eSIM simply means you can use your phone without a SIM card. Do you have an iPhone 11, any of the iPhone X series, a Google Pixel 3, or any new phone that supports the e-technology? Then walk into any Africell customer care center and activate your eSIM today. With your virtual Africell SIM, you can use more than one number without having a physical SIM card in your phone. Enjoy this brand new technology for the first time in the Gambia, brought to you by Africell. eSIM, your phone without a SIM card. For more information, please call 111. Where Africell goes, nobody dares to follow.
Welcome back and thank you for joining us. Now, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, in collaboration with the National Council for Civic Education, have launched a peace-building fund for civic education funded by UNICEF. The project will train teachers and school administrators on civic education to help young people understand their civic rights, laws, institutions, and systems. Fatma Kasim tells us more.
The Peace-Building Fund for Civic Education would also help teachers to acquire the required skills in engaging with institutions and local communities in the lower, central, and upper river regions of the Gambia. Usman Ba, a representative of the National Council for Civic Education, said civic education is extremely important because it prepares citizens to claim their rights and to carry out their responsibilities in a more responsible way. Burr said different understanding of the meaning and practice of democracy has a detrimental impact on the future of the Gambia.
The faint understanding of the meaning and practice of democracy, has a detrimental impact on the future of this country, as perhaps uninformed citizens with very scant knowledge of how to implement democracy use remarks that are very divisive and that are threatening to the peace and stability of this country. This tend to discourage even free and fair participation in the process. And most of the time, this kind of disagreement or this kind of derogatory remarks are made through tribal or ethnic lines. And this is a threat to the peace and, of course, to the stability the Gambia is universally known for. And this is why civic education is extremely important, because it prepares citizens of a country to claim their rights and to carry out their responsibilities as citizens, but in a more responsible way.
Civic rights are the theoretical foundation of participation in the public life of a state. Janko Jawane, the Principal Education Officer for Region 6, said it was important for peace building and civic education to be included in the school curriculum.
I expect that this training of trainers will enhance the teaching of civic education in our schools, so that you the trainers, you are the ones who are going to be the trainers at school level and cluster levels. We expect you, whatever you learn from here, you go and train others, so that this particular curriculum of peace building and civic education will be introduced in our schools.
There is a strong foundation for building peace in the Gambia, to the extent that when it is shaken, it's that foundation that holds it together. That is manifested in the joking relationship between ethnic groups. According to Noah Jata, an education specialist at UNICEF, civic and peace education should not only be limited to formal education settings.
It doesn't matter whether you put peace civic education in the school curriculum or not. It should have to be in the education process. That means we are defining education beyond school. When we informally meet in the streets, education happens. When we are in our homes, education happens. When we are in workplaces, education happens. So we have to look at it from that perspective, that it is a key component of our education program, whether in the formal education in schools, or in the non-formal education when we have literacy classes, or in the informal education when we interact in homes and workplaces. But this message has to go through every level. Our happiness cannot be enjoyed if we don't have peace.
The NCCE was created as an independent, non-partisan body to enlighten citizens on their fundamental democratic rights and to cultivate an environment of democratic continuity in the Gambia. Its work is meant to enable all citizens, irrespective of gender, age, religion, or political affiliation, to participate fully in governance and development process of the country. For iAfrica TV, I am Fatmata Kasim.
And from the report they are filed in by Fatmata Kasim, of course, finally, to Nigeria now, where vulnerable women in the outskirts of the Nigerian capital, Abuja, have been receiving family planning service to help them properly manage their childbirth status amid the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The country's healthcare system has been largely disrupted by the global health crisis, but a non-governmental organization, Wellbeing Foundation Africa, is out to guide women in the remote parts of the country to improve their family management issues. Here are more details of that in this report.
32-year-old Miriam Salisu is pregnant with her 10th child. She's lost 3 of her children, 2 of her daughters are married, and her 4 boys are still at home. She says she and her husband have decided this baby will be their last.
I think I want to rest now because it's not been easy taking care of these children. Even to take them to school has been impossible. I don't want to put my body through the rigors of giving birth anymore. We would rather take care of the ones we have to the best of our ability.
According to Nigeria's National Demographic Health Survey, over 30% of young women in the country have no access to maternal health and family planning services. Months of lockdowns and the transfer of resources to combat COVID-19 have compounded the problem.
Many poor people in rural areas who have suffered from the disruption of maternal health and family planning services like this are posed with the challenge of bearing more children than they can cater for.
Despite the challenge of COVID-19, this non-governmental organization, Wellbeing Foundation Africa, is providing these services to Miriam and other women in this community on the outskirts of Abuja. They're also giving them education on family planning and contraception. The United Nations warns that the disruption of these services could result in more than 7 million unintended pregnancies worldwide in 2020.
We're able to convince them on the importance of the uptake of family services, and we even give to them centrally where they can have maybe commodities like condom that they can use. If you can hear from the in charge here, you see that the percentage of people assessing family planning has now increased, unlike before.
However, experts say these programs are urgently needed in communities that are harder to reach.
The road is not good. You have poor network, telecommunication network. At times you want to communicate with them, you can't get through. 2, funding is another problem. You don't have support. Partnership, that's another key area that federal governments have to look into, or other NGOs, international NGOs have to look into. If you want to reach out to people that really need the uptake of these services, then you have to extend your tentacle into the rural area.
Nigeria's Ministry of Health says despite the negative impact that the pandemic has had on the country's health sector, it's working hard to allocate more resources to family planning services. For now, women like Miriam are relying on the efforts of NGOs for vital family planning services.
Well, viewers, from the report there in Nigeria, we finally bring this news bulletin to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, you can visit our website on africa.tv. For now, though, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.